Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
This is a real tattoo! Alan, what did you do? Did you roofie me? I didn't do anything.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm Stuart.
And I'm here, hopefully. You can hear me this time.
Yeah, they can definitely hear you this time. I wasn't doing it on purpose or anything, so don't blame that.
I believe you.
Yeah, I don't think you do. But coming up on this week's show, we have a hell of a lot of films to review. But in the cinema section, we'll be looking at...
The Wolfpack's back for Hangover Part 3. A small animated movie. See what I did there with Epic. A small horror movie with The Moth Diaries, and a couple of Studio Ghibli re-releases with My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies.
Do you want to rewind back because you got it exactly right the first time we did this?
No, move on.
Okay. On top of that, we have the UK box office top 10 and some movie news. As usual, you can get us in the live chat in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. But Andy, you kick us off with some movie news.
Last Thursday it was announced from several places online that the Rocky Horror Picture Show actor Tim Curry had suffered a major stroke but was recovering. A spokesman for the actor has confirmed shortly afterwards that the stroke actually occurred last July, not this last week. There's been no official response to the story as it broke during the last week, but the actor said to be doing great following the collapse. He absolutely can speak and is recovering at his time and is in great humour.
Why is it taking this long for it to come out?
Well, basically it's a medical thing, and surprise of all surprises, somewhere at a hospital people didn't blab about a celebrity being taken into hospital.
That's a first, actually. That is really a first. But
yeah, so I mean, if he'd gone in and died at sort of that point last year, you think we would have heard about it by now. You know, someone would have said, but thankfully he's not, because I mean, Tim Curry is one of these. He is a legend.
Yeah, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
No, oh come on! Don't tell me you got that. He's a legend.
Yeah, I did get that. I was glossing over about Rocky Horror Picture Show and things like that. But I agree. Whatever role he inhabits, he seems to inhabit it with a plum. He grabs hold of it and goes completely nuts with it. So.
My other piece of news I've got is that piece of casting news. Tom Cruise has departed the big screen version of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Cruise had been cast in the lead role of Napoleon Solo, originally portrayed by Robert Vaughn in the series. His departure from the movie is said to be due to production of Mission Impossible 5, which Cruise will be producing and also starring in, and is expected to start filming before the end of the year. So the two movies' the scheduling between the two is not possible.
Yeah, it was supposed to star alongside Armie Hammer in the film, which was going to be directed by Guy Ritchie. Well, it actually is getting directed by Guy Ritchie. Interesting film for him to do.
Yeah, I've seen stuff of that, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you did like Sherlock Holmes, so he did pretty decent with Sherlock Holmes, considering his past movies.
That's true. Yeah, you have to give him that.
Well, sort of. The previous Sherlock Holmes film I thought was very generic and a bit boring, to be honest, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see who takes over the role from Tom Cruise, because it was interesting casting.
I don't know. Could they get Tom Hanks?
And too old, I think. Slightly too old.
No, about the same age, aren't they?
Right, the only news story that I've got is Luc Besson's EuropaCorp and Chinese production company Fundamental Films have teamed up to co-finance, co-produce and co-distribute a new Transporter trilogy. It's unknown if Jason Statham will return to the series, however each film will have a budget of around about $30 million.
Really? Do we need more Transporter after the series, which was awful? I really hated the series. I mean, it didn't have Jason Statham in it, which was a big thing of it, but the series was just horrible. A complete mess of... Didn't know what it was trying to do.
Yeah, in the live chat we have Dalek Sex, Bayakat, and Booger as usual is always asking for Star Wars news. Any Star Wars news? Do you have any Star Wars news whatsoever?
I'm just watching a tumbleweed go flying by. Sorry, I got distracted.
Yeah, I'm watching a Death Star, actually. Right, box office top 10. If there's any Star Wars news pops up, none us will probably be during the show, and it'll be a news flash or something like that. We'll report on that.
It'll be 5 minutes before we finish the show. It always is.
Probably.
UK box office top 10. Number 10, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's the Pedro Almodovar film. We have not seen it, so we didn't see it.
Yeah, so we're not excited about it. And number 9 is Olympus Has Fallen.
We've gone on about this each week. Would you believe this is the Ball Gamer dude, Al's least favourite part of the show? He doesn't like it. He fast forwards through it. So we'll try to be quick. Olympus Has Fallen. Decent enough action film. Should have been the last Die Hard.
Yeah. At number 8, 21 and Over, which is a movie you and me have differing opinions of.
Yeah, it's worse than The Hangover Part 3. In all honesty, I can't believe I would have said that, but it is worse than The Hangover Part 3, because at least The Hangover Part 3 did garner one single laugh from me. This garnered nothing. It actually just garnered absolutely nothing from me. It's a terrible film.
And number 7, still in there, is The Croods. Still.
Which still I've yet to see.
Number 6 is Mud, which you still haven't seen, and I want to see. I'm actually planning to see it again tomorrow night if I get a chance. I think it's my favourite film of the year. Absolutely fantastic. Matthew McConaughey is brilliant in it, and if you haven't seen it, because it's going up in the chart, so it should be getting more screenings. Try and see it if you can. And number 5 is All Stars,
which again we both haven't seen. It's a kids' film about kids trying to rescue their school by putting on a dance contest. That's if that interests you, then All Stars might be the film for you, but I doubt it.
Yeah. From what we've heard, not really. And number 4, Iron Man 3. Number 3, Star Trek Into Darkness.
I do have something to say about Iron Man 3.
Okay.
It's just become the 5th highest grossing film of all time at the worldwide box office.
I thought it was the 4th.
Nope, it's just become the 5th.
Okay. Star Trek Into Darkness at number 3. Yeah.
Which I liked more than Andy did.
Yeah. The Great Gatsby at number 2.
Which I've yet to see.
Yeah, you still need to see this, and I would say if you go and see this, and I hope you do, try and see it in the 3D, because it looks like the 3D and it would have been really good. I only saw it in 2D, and I want to see it in 3D. Which means the number 1 movie is Fast and Furious 6.
Which I didn't like it as much as Fast 5. I didn't like it as much as the reboot of Fast and Furious movies. These have become slightly more ridiculous. I felt it was like the Avengers without the superheroes. There was one race scene in the film, and for all it's called Fast and Furious, you would have expected that. Justin Lin's last film before James Wan takes over with the 7th film in the series.
Yeah, I just want to say the most convenient filled movie of the Fast and Furious franchise. Not to say it's bad, because it's not bad, it's good, but it's just full of, you'll go, oh, that was convenient, about every sort of 10 minutes.
Yeah, and as you noticed there, we've gone through that top 10 probably in record time for us. So
wait till we get to the DVD section. It's just going to be like a one-word response for all of the DVD section.
Oh yeah, it's just so we've got a little bit more time to review the films. We're going to a break at the moment for the Holocaust, which is on directly after us. So check this ad out.
We are the Holocaust.
Hello Internet, Dalek Sex here. Now I'm well used to having too much in my mouth, but frankly there's just too much to tell you about Season 4 of We Are the Holocaust on iTunes and Spreaker. For a start, we've got some old favourites like foul-mouthed tech news from Joystick Discharge and mobile gaming chat when Sex talks about apps. We've also got a few new faces, such as reviews and industry waffle from the man in the video shop, and you can join us as we stalk the midlife crisis of gaming's finest in Cliffy Tweets. And don't forget the return of Holocaust favourites, such as Agony Uncle Newsbot and the Holocaust Literary Masterclass, the world's most depraved book club. Follow us on Twitter at WeAre with the letter R, the Holocaust. Tweet your real-life problems to Newsbot, Nooze, to have them answered on the show. And follow hashtag Sex Talks About Apps for mobile news. Live-ish, Sunday night, 9 o'clock, Spreaker.com, and download on iTunes.
Right, welcome back. Let's get on with the reviews.
Yeah, The Hangover Part 3, which is the final part, supposedly. This is the end, as it keeps saying on all the posters. the movie from Todd Phillips, who's directed all three of the Hangover movies. You've got everyone come back: Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis, Justin Bartha, and Ken Jeong. Basically, you have the guys are all sort of brought back together because at the start of the movie, Alan's father dies. There is, as you've seen in the trailer, the funeral goes on, at which Alan is quite odd and strange because of the fact he's apparently been off his meds for the last 6 months. Because of this, events that he's done, things like buying and accidentally beheading a giraffe, and sort of things like that. The group have all got together with Alan's sister because of the fact that they're talking about they need to try and find some way of helping him. And so what they're going to do is get him put into this place, sort of a home for people who are needing help, to try and sort of help him deal with his situation, how he is, how weird he is, and how he's not quite sort of normal as everyone else. So the guys decide, okay, what we'll do is to get in there, to convince him to go, we'll take him in the car, and part of the deal is the wolf pack all back together for one last thing. They'll drive him, they'll get into this place, but on the way they're run off the road by a group led by Marshall, played by John Goodman, a man who has connections with Mr. Chow, who has so far apparently escaped from his prison where he was in Bangkok, and his history with Marshall is that there was a theft of something along the lines of $42 million in gold. $42 million in gold, yeah. That was split between them, except the fact of that Mr. Chow stole half of the gold, and now Marshall wants it back. So Marshall takes as collateral Doug, leaves the other three behind, and gives them 48 hours to try and find Mr. Chow. Otherwise, Doug will be killed. Here's a clip.
What are we gonna do, Stu?
We're gonna go to the police.
Oh, no, we're not. Did you hear that guy? He will kill Doug, period. Chow is a cancer. He has been a cancer since the first day we met him. So we're going to hand him over to this guy, Marshall, and then it's done.
Hey, Phil.
Alan, not now, but I need you, Stu. I can't do this alone.
Do what alone? We have no idea where he even is.
Phil.
What, Alan?
Well, I was just going to say, I got this strange email the other day. I wasn't sure what it meant, but now I think it might be from Chow.
Fatty. Feels good to be out. I'm close by. Tell no one. I'll be in touch. Chow. This says Chow. How did you not know this was from Chow?
At the time, I thought it was Chow like goodbye. You know, like Ciao, Arrivederci, Sabaro, Papa Ciao.
I'm writing him back.
Whoa, wait, just hold on.
I'm going to tell him that you're happy he's out and that you'd love to see him.
Ooh, I would love to see him.
Do you even know what's going on?
Yes, I do. Phil's doing all the work, I'm his assistant, and you're standing there looking like an idiot.
So the guys then head off to find Mr. Chow, and eventually, as things lead into another, they end up back in Vegas. And that's as far as I'm really going to go into it for that. The thing is with The Hangover, I mean, you and I both have issues, especially with the second one in the series. The first one I like, but you don't. I thought the first one was quite. I thought the first one was quite genuinely funny and quite clever, and it had that fine line. It did a great job of travelling that fine line between gross out humour and just really sick jokes. Whereas in Hangover Part 2, they just decided to walk straight across that line and just go far too far.
They decided to take the script and wipe their asses with it.
Yes, something like that. But the thing is that, I mean, the third one is basically, it is not as funny as the first one. If you like the first one, you'll see you'll see this one, and you'll think, yeah, it's not bad, but it's not funny. It's not really funny. And the thing is, I realised this when I'm watching it because I'm sitting in a cinema which is quite filled out. I'm sitting there with a bunch of people, and there's bits happening where Alan is just being his usual strange self. Zach Galifianakis is just doing his usual thing, as he does in these movies. And people behind me are sitting there absolutely laughing like mad, but it's not, you can tell it's not genuine laughter. It's just like, oh, that's ridiculous laughter.
Laughing because they think they have to laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
That was exactly the same with me when I went to see Scary Movie 5. I thought people were in the cinema just laughing like they had a gun against their head to be told, laugh.
It's just like that. That's what I was sitting there, and I'm just like, really, why are people laughing at this? I'm not laughing, and it's not as if it's trying to be funny. It's just dialogue. It's people talking. It's just Alan being strange talking. It's not an actual comedy point. So it's unfortunately a thing that The Hangover has become that film now that it's made and you're expected to laugh at it. You don't go into it and see it and laugh because it's genuinely funny. You go into it and laugh because it's meant to be funny. It's not funny. There are bits in it which did make me laugh, not big laughs. There's a bit right at the end which we won't talk about, which I know you laughed at as well.
I only laughed at it because there was a woman in the screening that I went to see it as. Everybody was about to walk out, and then the scene cropped up because it happens just as the credits start, and then you get the little bit about 20 seconds into the credits. And there was this woman, she was absolutely dead with hysterics. And when you hear somebody laugh, and so like OTT like that, you sort of like get infected slightly yourself with it. So it was just from that.
But I thought, though, this joke that does happen at the end was kind of that point where it's starting to try and step over the line a bit. So it is a bit... It does reach and struggle with its moments where it's trying to be funny. But, I mean, one of the good things is it's not a complete rehash of the first one, like the second one was. They actually have tried something different here with this one. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay, but it just wasn't that funny as it should have been. There was just a lot of missed opportunities. So if you like the first one, then you'll think this is okay, but not as funny. And thankfully, there is no Mike Tyson in this one.
Yeah, personally, I just didn't find it funny at all. I just thought it was boring. It was really boring. It felt like it was dragging really badly. As a matter of fact, I did that thing that I always do in the cinema when I get really bored of a film. I try to spot the mistakes. If there's any mistakes in the film, I try to spot the mistakes. And funnily enough, I spotted one involving Melissa McCarthy, who she crops up in Las Vegas, involving Alan's character. And the scene that you've seen in the trailer, which involves the lollipop, there's a mistake in that scene. So watch out for that mistake. But Mr. Chow is just annoying as usual. His voice is so grating, it's just really bad. He thinks that he's a really funny character, and I expect that there's going to be a spin-off film involving Alan and Mr. Chow, because they'll see it, and both of them supposedly gel really well. And Todd Phillips, it's sort of like the Oren Peli kind of thing, where Oren Peli's made one good thing in Paranormal Activity, and everything else he hasn't made good at all. A lot of people really like the first Hangover, and everything else that Todd Phillips has been involved in has been a car crash. And that's the same. It is true. But yeah, it's not very good at all. It's bombed at the US box. Well, I wouldn't say it's bombed, but it hasn't done as well as people thought it would do at the US box office.
It got kind of wiped a bit away with Fast and Furious 6. Kind of wiped the floor with it, didn't it?
Yeah, because Hangover Part 2 took 87 million in its opening weekend. This took only 42 million in its opening weekend, which is a huge, massive drop-off. But it's not funny at all. Like Andy said, if you did find the first one funny, you might find a few jokes in this funny. If you hated the second one, then it's sort of like a slight reprieve because Todd Phillips has decided to not go with the gross-out humour. But it's just unfunny. It's a comedy without the comedy.
Yeah.
Best way to describe it. Right there. Next movie up is Epic. It's an animated film directed by Chris Wedge, and also from the team who worked on the Ice Age series and Rio. Unfortunately, heads up, it falls in the same category as Rio. So if you know what we thought about Rio, that's exactly what I think about Epic. It's voiced by the main lead character, Mary Catherine, or MK as she's known in the film. It's voiced by Amanda Seyfried, and she's forced to live with her father. She's never been with her father since she was a really young girl. And when she gets to her father's house, it's sort of like this rundown house in the middle of a forest, in the middle of absolutely nowhere. There is no house around it. She gets dropped off by the taxi driver, and the taxi driver turns around and says, "Yeah, if you need a quick getaway, just ring me up." So she gets to the house. She meets up with her father, who's voiced by Jason Sudeikis, and he's kept everything exactly the same as it was when she was young. Her bedroom's really small. He's still really eccentric because he believes that these small people live in the forest. He's always trying to capture them. He's got cameras set up in the forest to try and capture them, little radars and things like that, and he's never been able to see them. One day when Mary Catherine goes out into the garden to try and get the dog, because the dog has only got it's got one leg missing, it's only got one eye as well, and it keeps on constantly running around in circles. A thunderstorm happens where she's shrunk down. She's then took into the world of these small little people, who the leader of them, who's voiced by Beyonce Knowles, is getting ready to give up her crown to somebody else. and this pod that she's found, where she's going to transfer her soul into, Mary Catherine has to look after it. Here's a clip.
So this Nim guy, he's like the wise old man of the forest.
He's more like the crazy uncle.
Friends, neighbors, prepare to see your worries disappear. I have just returned from the Rings of Knowledge, where every memory, every event that ever happens in the forest is recorded. Yeah! Listen, party poopers, I got something to say. Dry your weeping eyes, we're gonna be okay. So you don't have to worry about the doggone thing. The Rings of Knowledge know everything. The scrolls never lie, and honey, neither does Nim. It's right here in my hands, all 6 of them. So chuck your little fears and put them right into bed. It says right.
Fruit fly, huh?
So, what's it like having such a short life cycle?
It's great, mister. When I grow up,
I'm gonna... Wish I had done more with my life, Sonny.
And in the midst of everything, you have the main bad guy, Mandrake, who's voiced by Christoph Waltz, who wants to take over the entirety of the world by turning everything dark if he can get hold of this pod and let the moon shine on it and give birth to the next bad person. As I said at the start, if you know what I thought about Rio, and it's exactly the same as Andy, because he thought it's exactly the same as Rio as I did, this is exactly the same with Epic. It's nice to look at, but it's such an empty film. With it being a U, it has to tread a really fine line between the fact that it has to have jokes in there to suit younger audiences, but a few in there to keep adults a bit more interested. Because when I went to see it, I was in a screening of like 3 different families. None of the children in that screening laughed. I didn't even hear them ask questions, because normally when you go to see a film with kids in the screening, to show that they're interested, they'll ask their parents questions like, what's that on the screen? Or things like that. Or they might laugh at a few jokes, or just silly jokes, even if it's a silly fart joke. They'll laugh at it. But there was nothing like that in the screening of this. It was just so weird to find an animated film not doing that with kids. I don't think we were interested in the characters whatsoever. It tries to go along at a decent enough pace, but it's not. It's a bit laborious because it follows exactly the same path as the film Fern Gully. It got a very, very similar feel to Fern Gully, and if you've seen that, you'll have seen Epic. None of the set pieces work really well. You've got the usual comedy characters in it. One of them's a snail, one of them's a slug, voiced by Chris O'Dowd and Azira Ansari. But again, they don't seem really funny, because the jokes that you've seen in the trailer. And I get it's that thing where I wish they would cut trailers properly. So Epic does not live up to the title that it suggests it does. And when you see the advert saying it's the best animated film of the summer or the best movie of the year, you know you're not to believe it, because there's something seriously wrong when they do that. It's not. It's a bit of a snore fest, actually. It's a bit of a bore. So it should have just been called Bore and not Epic.
I think quite clearly the best animated film of the year, the movie that's going to be that would be The Croods, going by the fact it's still in both the US and the UK box office top 10s after being out for 2.5 months.
Yeah, I've yet to see The Croods, but there's a lot of films which can easily stand up against Epic, because it doesn't hold itself really well. I think it's one of those forgettable films. We've seen The Croods being in the top 10 for 10 weeks now. Epic, I wouldn't be surprised if it only spends a few weeks in there, because I don't think very many children were really that interested in seeing it. And unfortunately, I can't think of any more U or PG films that are out in the next month or so that are solely aimed at children.
It's not often they come along, as a fact, yeah.
Yeah, that might actually keep it in the top 10 for a little while, because there is very little out in the next, I would say, at least a month that is solely aimed at children PG or under. But that's the only thing that'll keep it in the chart. But I would say avoid Epic. Go to see The Croods instead. I wish I actually saw The Croods, but I had to go and see this because I was reviewing it.
Shall we move on to The Moth Diaries?
Yep.
It's directed by Mary Harron. She's also written the screenplay on it based off the book by Rachel Klein. Now, it's a kind of a horror film that's about a girl named Rebecca, played by Sarah Bolger, who she's basically sent to boarding school because there is an issue of something she has in her past to do with her father, and he died, and the way that he died that's kind of had this effect on her. She's at the school. She goes to it every year. She there meets up with a lot of her friends, and there's this new girl that turns up, played by Lily Cole, who plays Anessa. This weird thing starts happening when Anessa becomes really close friends with Lucy, one of Rebecca's friends, and Anessa and Lucy sort of end up separating from everyone else. They become really close friends, and Rebecca starts becoming sort of fixated on the fact that these two have gone off together, and that that Lucy has kind of abandoned her friends, and there's all the while this is happening, there's weird things that are happening at this boarding school. Rebecca starts sort of seeing things. She starts having sort of hallucinations of lots of moths flying around whenever she's trying to find out what the sort of the deal is with Anessa, because she's kind of a bit of a weird outsider. There's this weird thing where she's out on the roof of the boarding school, the housing bit, and she's sort of out there, and she sees what appears to be Anessa walking along the roof, and then suddenly disappears. And there's all these sort of weird things going on, and all the time there is this whole thing of Lucy is starting to suffer, sort of apparently losing her strength, losing all her energy. That Rebecca begins to suspect that Anessa is not quite human, that she is something else. Now, the thing is with this, it's a horror film. It's rated 15. It's been given a very small release, so you only see this in small cities. But it's only 80 odd minutes long. It's not a very long film, but it feels like a very long film. It plods along, doesn't really have an idea where it's going at certain points, and you're sitting there wondering why these girls are sort of just sitting around talking, or why this girl is sort of just walking along, and just there's scenes basically where all she's doing is walking along in the woods. And she then has this mysterious, weird hallucination, and you're kind of wondering, okay, what's going on? Has she been drugged or something? And she's not. I seriously was wondering what was going on in this film more often than the times I was going, oh, this is what's happening. It's just, for me, it was just a bit of a mess. It didn't work. I didn't have a clue what was going on for about the first half an hour or so. Then I had an idea of what it was trying to do, and then you get to the end, and the end is kind of like, okay, that happens, and then what happens after that? And it just ends. And just like, I was like, what? Okay, so it's 80 minutes long. It doesn't really have an ending, though. It ends a certain story, and then you kind of expect more to happen afterwards, and it doesn't. And I don't know if this is how accurate it is based on the book, if this is down to the book, or if this is because of the interpretation of the book, and it's been done to screen, but it's weird, and it's not even scary. It's supposed to be a horror film, and I may not even know it's supposed to be a horror film, but I know from reading other things and from the subject that it's a horror film. But it's not scary either, which is the thing. I mean, it's a film that's not even an hour and a half long, and it's just I was just could not wait for it to end.
And I'll not be watching it then.
No, it's the kind of thing I think you'd watch it. You'd enjoy a couple of scenes in it. That's it. And then the rest of it, you'd go, what was that about? Seriously. Yeah. In fact, I'd love for you to watch it and then tell me what it was about, because you'd be going the same with me. You'd come out of it at the end going, what?
Yeah, I'll give it a watch. I'll give any horror film a watch. I was trawling through Love Film the other night yesterday actually trying to find something to watch. I ended up watching the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Don't ask me why, but the amount of crap that's on there, to be honest, is huge. So I'll give it a watch.
Okay.
Will I enjoy it? Probably not.
No, you'll probably fall asleep.
Yeah, no, my luck, I probably will. Right there, the only other two films that I specifically want to cover anyway is two films called My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies. The reason being is because they've just getting a 25th anniversary re-release. They were originally released on April the 16th, 1988. I can't believe they're 25 years old. That was the first time that Studio Ghibli themselves released two films in 1 year. They've never done it before. They've never actually done it again. They're releasing three in the UK this year, called From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind is Rising, and The Tale of Princess Kaguya. I don't know if we'll get The Wind is Rising and The Tale of Princess Kaguya over here, but we've still not yet getting there from Up on Poppy Hill. But they've never released two films in the same year since they released Grave of the Fireflies and My Neighbor Totoro. And if you can get to see them both on the big screen, I highly recommend you doing that. My Neighbor Totoro centers around two sisters, Satsuki and Mai, and they come across the iconic character from Studio Ghibli. As a matter of fact, they use him as his mascot, which is Totoro, which is a huge, massive hamster. And I was suggesting this on Following the Nerd, that if you want your kids to see any films where you've got empowering women or female characters in movies, watch a Ghibli film. And this, My Neighbor Totoro, is the first one that that you should watch, because it is such an amazing movie. They'll instantly fall in love with the Totoro character. He is such a lovable character, and these little pals as well, which is beside them. They really want a Totoro. And then on the opposite side of things, you've got Grave of the Fireflies, which is probably Studio Ghibli's most harrowing film. This is the movie that any time when Film 4 in the UK has a Ghibli season, this is the film that they show after midnight for some reason. This one was directed by Isao Takahata. My Neighbor Totoro was done by Hayao Miyazaki, both, like, you might as well say founders of Ghibli themselves. And it centers around a brother and sister, Sita and Setsuko, and it's about them during the bombings in 1945 and the fact that they lose their parents and they have to look after each other. It's such a harrowing film. One of the hardest films that I've ever actually had to sit through. Never mind animated films, but live action films as well. This one, if it doesn't garner a tear from your eye, there is something seriously wrong with it. It's such a powerful, powerful film. It's a really important one. A lot of kids who study World War II or whatever in schools, in history, I think they should watch Grave of the Fireflies above a lot of these newsreels and stuff that they watch, because it is such a really important film to watch, more so than The Impossible. And I love The Impossible. I thought it was a really good film, but Grave of the Fireflies is such an important film. So if you've got a cinema close by, if you go to see, if you've got a cinema close by that's showing My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies, then just go see them. Please go and see them, because this is probably the only time that you'll ever get to see those two films on the big screen. And out of Ghibli's back catalogue, I think these two are the most important one, because Spirited Away is the one that gets all the plaudits. But these two should be the one that gets the plaudits above Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies. So I think they're the best things that Ghibli has ever produced.
Here's a question for you then. If people are going to cinema and they've got a choice of one or the other, but they can't see both, which one should they go for?
It depends on what situation you're in. If you're with children or whatever, My Neighbor Totoro all day long. But if you're in that kind of mood where you're with a loved one and you want to see something a bit more adult, let's just say animated wise, without going into the 15 territory, then Grave of the Fireflies. I think My Neighbor Totoro is getting a bit more of a wider release than Grave of the Fireflies, but My Neighbor Totoro definitely. But I can't separate them, because they're both like chalk and cheese. They're both different, but they're both vitally important, because My Neighbor Totoro shows off what Ghibli can do, and Grave of the Fireflies shows that Ghibli isn't just about kids animated films. They can handle a really tough subject. So I've been actually asked by Following the Nerd to write a Studio Ghibli piece, and I think you've already asked me a few times to do one.
Do one for the One the Movie Chef website as well.
Yeah, and I've been told I should do a special episode, which I've been trying my best to get. Might ask Dalek Sex, who's in the live chat, to join me, because I know that he loves Ghibli films as much as I do. So I might try to wrangle him to do an episode with me, and we talk about 45 minutes about Ghibli films, which will bore a lot of people to death.
Now he's gone really quiet in the chat room.
Yeah, because when I was on the show on Thursday, they couldn't believe that I was so passionate about something. That was the reason why they asked it. They said they never heard me being like really passionate about films before, because I'm normally like the miserable person. And so when I was talking about these two, they were just surprised. So I'll think about writing a piece, and I'll definitely get to do a special episode of the show for Studio Ghibli stuff. Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. We'll be back in a moment on Spreaker Live with the DVD and Blu-ray section of the show, so stick around for that.